Hello everybody, and welcome to the first webinar of 2023 for BrightLocal. You might notice that I am not Miles. Poor Miles is feeling very, very, very ill, so we send him our best wishes. So I'm going to fill in for him today. I am Claire, and we're going to have a great time anyway, but get well soon, Miles. So, let us know in the chat where you're joining from today, and welcome as people start coming in. I need to let you know that for the best viewing experience, you can join directly on YouTube, and Jenny is going to share the link in the chat or in the comments. So there's a couple of things I just need to say first, and then we will meet all of our lovely guests. The first thing is I would like to invite you to join the new Facebook community, the Local Pack. So the link is shared in the comments here, and it's a really active community. So it's a place for local SEO professionals to share insights and ideas and to ask and answer questions around local search. So do join everyone there because it's very active and there's lots going on. So I am going to introduce the guests for today. I believe that there will be some slides in a moment. And here are lots of lovely faces, which you'll probably be familiar with. What we're going to do is I'm going to ask all of you to give yourselves a little intro as your slides come up. So let's see who's first.
Ooh,
it's Joy.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. Very excited about this webinar. I'm Joy. I run a local search agency in the US and Canada. So we specialize in everything related to local search. And I'm also privileged to be part of a volunteer group called Google Business Products Experts, along with Ben Fisher, that helps moderate the forum that Google has for everything related to Google Business, or depending on what you want to call it, Google My Business, Google Business Profile, whatever, it's all the same thing.
Lovely, thank you.
And hello, thank you, Joy, and thank you, Claire. Yep, Ben Fisher. Hi, how are you doing? I'm one of the founders of Steady Demand. We are a local search company as well. I mean, we do everything from audits, Google Business Profile. We're probably most well known in the industry for the stuff that we do around reinstatements, and also like local service ads. And like Joy and all of the other product experts that we have out there, I work in the Google Business Profile community and have fun yelling at Googlers and telling them how to fix their product. Sometimes they actually listen. Anyway, thanks for having me.
I sometimes listen to you, Ben, and we appreciate you. My name is Amanda Jordan. I'm the Director of Digital Strategy at Rickety Roo. We spend a lot of time working with home services businesses, but we also have experience with franchise and multi-location businesses as well. I really love working on helping businesses with SEO expansion and looking at data to determine where they should move to next as far as growing their businesses and opening new locations. And I am very excited to be here today.
Thank you for being here. So we're going to go straight into it. We've got an hour and a half today. We'll have a look at the agenda in a moment. But first of all, before we do that, just going to run through, and can you tell me, each of you, what is your one wild prediction for 2023? And I'll start with Amanda.
Yeah, so my wild prediction for 2023 is that ChatGPT will not have a huge impact on how local SEO is run or anything like that. It's a cool novelty tool for now, but it is not going to have a huge impact, especially on local SEO.
Thank you. And Joy?
Yeah, I was going to say something similar. I think similar to what Amanda said, I think that SEOs are going to overuse it, think it's the greatest thing ever, and then likely regret it later when it doesn't quite do exactly the magic that they think it's going to do.
Ben, now interested in your opinion, not probably about the same thing, maybe.
The ladies all stole my thunder. No, seriously. Okay, so I'm going to take one and I'm going to steal it actually from Greg Gifford. Okay. I think people are going to still say GMB versus GBP. And I think people are also, Joy, you said this earlier, are going to get GPT from ChatGPT messed up with GMB. Too many freaking acronyms. I also think it's like, when ChatGPT first really rolled out, I experimented a ton with it. I've got a website which is all ChatGPT content just to see if it'll rank. It does, by the way. And I think very specifically that it is going to be completely overused. It's going to be abused. I think it's going to be abused by not only marketers, especially younger marketers, I think, but the people that are out there that basically take advantage of the entire Google ecosystem. So we'll get into all that later. Actually, we've got some good nuggets to go over when it comes to that.
It's quite interesting. It's so new and interesting, and getting all your predictions about that is brilliant. Okie dokie. So I think we're going to have a look. Here we go. Here's the agenda. We're going to run this in 3 main sections, and we have got looking back at 2022. So I've got some questions for all 3 of you. We're going to then look at some hot tips for 2023. We've got a little bit from Sammy, who's going to talk about the local marketing confidence survey. And then we have got the live Q&A. So this is your chance as like a business or a marketer to pose your question and hear it from these incredible experts that we have here. So get your questions in, because this is such a good opportunity for you to get them answered. So let's get straight into it. Let's go to part 1. What we're going to do is, so we've got some questions, and then I'd really love it if maybe we just jump in with whoever wants to say something on the topic, and then the others can add. Or if you're all very shy, which I know that you're not, I'll call you out. So can you imagine? Shy. So looking back, let's start with, what are the 3 biggest changes you've seen in local SEO and the local SEO industry? And why do you think those changes took place?
I think you're going to need to call people out.
Okay, I'm going to go Joy, please. Thank you.
All right, so we're talking all of last year. Biggest impact, I would definitely have to say the vicinity update. I feel like this algorithm update didn't actually get nearly enough press for how substantial it was. And I'm still auditing businesses that I see had huge, massive changes because of that. And just in case you're not familiar, what that algorithm update did is, especially for what we call implicit terms. So terms where you type them into Google that are very not specific. So like plumber would be an example of like an implicit term, or like electrician or electrician near me. Like you're not actually stating where exactly you're looking for one. We saw a huge shrinkage in how far away a business could rank on Google. So the potential for a single location to rank like for a large radius for that type of keyword, like minimalized like crazy. So the real winners from that were people that had like 1 million locations. Like, unfortunately in the locksmith industry, kiosks were the winner, because there's one on every corner. So that shrinking or that localization that we saw there, I think was really huge and dramatic. We saw some businesses that were both positive and negatively impacted as a result of it, but it was very substantial, and it happened right at the end of 2021.
Wow. Okay, Amanda.
My immediate thought is how things have changed, and I immediately think about that huge issue that was happening with UTM tracking codes for Google My Business listings, and how many things have happened in the previous year that caused just listings just to be down and removed. And that's one of the things that I unfortunately see possibly being an issue again this year is that we're going to see that there's going to be some breakage going on where some simple changes that you think may not have that much of an impact does end up having an impact, and having clients where you have to explain to them, hey, your listing is down. You didn't do quite anything wrong. It's just kind of, these are the breaks right now. And having to navigate those types of conversations a little bit more often as Google continues to make some changes with the GBPs, and one of them hopefully going back to GMB.
And when you say problems with UTM tracking codes, do you just mean someone thinking, oh, I'll just replace my primary website link with the same website link and add you, and then suddenly you've got a suspended listing?
Yes, those issues.
Fun times.
Yeah, we saw a lot of those issues for our clients, to the point where when new clients were coming on, we were like, let's pause on doing some of these changes just to see what happens, because it was extremely rampant at the time.
Yeah, what a mess. Ben.
You know what? And I got to agree there, Amanda. Those were some fun times. It's like, hey, we really need to do some work on a GBP. Let's get it suspended. And then wait 22 days for a reinstatement. So first of all, I want to say this, like, if we continue to say GMB, which I think we all are, you have to take a drink. I'm just saying. You have to. Okay. It's got to be a party thing, and we got to do it at Local U, Joy. Okay. So, top 3 things for last year in the industry. So number 1, of course, is going to be a minor thing, the GMB name change, right? It shocked everybody in the marketing, in the local SEO space. We didn't like it. We deal with change on a daily basis, but we hate it when Google makes changes like this, even though we should kind of come to expect it like every 3 years ish. But really the GMB management interface, so the in-search experience, right, where everything got moved from the dashboard into search. Now we've got ads which are showing impressions. Whenever you're doing it, if you're doing anything to your profile, it's difficult to get around. It's multiple clicks to do something when it used to take just 1 click. So it made everybody's life a lot harder, and there was a couple weeks there where there were some hacks where you could get in and you could kind of do things, and everybody's like, oh, I can still do it. But now, of course, all those hacks are gone pretty much. It's like I saw yesterday, I experienced one where I was like, could go back to photos. And I was like, ooh, I'm back in photos. Can I replicate this? Dang, can't replicate this. Okay. All right. Well, anyway. So I think that was one big change for everybody. It's not really a local SEO thing, but it is a marketer thing. The other big thing I think that saw last year, and talk about this a little bit later, is that you guys are going to love this one, I think. Maybe. Local citations and even larger citation groups. We've seen a lot of impact when it comes to organic SEO with those, and also the impact, of course, of GBPs that goes right along with it. So I think that was something that really that I noticed as a big change last year, because previous to that, I was kind of like, all now if it's a local citation, it's great, but bigger citations, who cares? So I kind of changed my mind about that one. Okay. And, I think also the emergence of video. We saw, for instance, something with White Spark. I think Darren had tweeted this out, like a video that was on a review, was still showing like after a year. So I think that's that too. So anyway.
Yeah. And Joyce, your video, what was your video piece? Videos that were auto playing, weren't they as well? You've done lots of video stuff, haven't you? Well,
yeah.
I look forward to
quite
reading the white paper. Yeah. So video. Okay, thank you. We have got, is there one tactic or strategic change that had the most impact on your clients in 2022? This is a 2-parter, it's quite long. And what task really moved the needle and gave you the most successful client results? Should we just deal with that in 2 parts? So was there one tactic or strategic change that had the most impact last year for you? Starting with Joy.
Ooh, that is tough to like summarize to one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hard. Okay, so I would say biggest like overall like high level change, just having different strategies for different industries. So we worked really hard on like narrowing down what I call our playbooks for like different industries, and just seeing how like one tactic that works really really well in one industry just does not carry over to another. Like we've had some industries where like we get featured snippets, and like those things are amazing. Like there are so many tricks and things to get featured snippets that work like magic, and you feel like a magician when you take over the number one spot on Google. It's like the best feeling ever, and that's awesome and fun, but it doesn't work for every type of client. Like there are certain types of industries where we've seen like that doesn't work at all. There's really no opportunities for it. So I think just having a diverse set of things you can look at, and then narrowing down on the ones that actually are driving conversions and leads, because it is getting more challenging as the search results space becomes more cluttered. We've got LSAs, we've got the local pack results, you've got more videos, more images, like it's just more product listings. It's like crazy. So knowing that it's just going to continue to get more challenging, I think knowing that you're not just like following a checklist. Like I hate the like bronze, silver, gold, like here's the 3 things you need to do every month, 1 blog post, 1 link, whatever. Toss that out the window. You need to have a really customized thing, and your brain is the best thing. Like yes, AI is great and tools are great, but like having an experience and a brain that is able to analyze things, the best SEO tool out there.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to make that quotable. Come on.
I don't think I was the first one to say that, but you can.
Joy, we all live in hope of getting our hands on those playbooks. Those were the days. Amanda, anything, the one tactic or strategic change?
Yeah, I have spent last year focusing a lot on information architecture and especially internal linking for clients. And we've seen a lot of clients where like we consider like, maybe we need to rewrite this page, maybe we need to re-optimize, and improving internal linking to that page is enough to get it from going to spot 10 to spot 2 in organic results. So internal linking is something that we spend a lot of time on and kind of perfecting our processes and how we think about it and approach it as well.
Wicked. Thank you. And Ben, your one tactic or strategic change?
One tactic or strategic change?
Just one that had just one.
Okay.
Just one that had the most impact on your clients.
No problems. So I have to give a huge shout out to Crystal Horton. So she's on her team and she heads up our LSA division. And she is definitely becoming the LSA queen. She is the LSA queen. I'm sorry. And so, one of the things that we ended up discovering this year with LSA, because we've been doing them for a couple of years, but we discovered that there is a severe balancing act that you have to play when it comes to your bid strategy. And you can't have, for instance, your weekly available budget set to like $35 million and expect like, I'm going to get all the leads in the area. As a matter of fact, it's actually the opposite. Google will decrease your leads actually almost down to 0 if you do that. So you have to maintain a realistic budget, realistic bid. And if you don't, you're just going to get penalized. So that was, I think, one of the biggest things that we learned, let's say that had a huge impact on our clients. And, we're able to get, 200-300x, return when a client comes into us, so because of just how we kind of match that strategy together.
Brilliant. Thank you. Next question is, what surprised you the most over the past year? For example, something that you thought would work but didn't, or thought wouldn't work but did. So I'm going to go straight back to you, Ben.
Straight back to me. Great.
Yeah, back to you.
Yay. So, okay. So a big surprise, I think, that our team discovered, right? And this is a shout out to Stefan and Dan Honaker, who are on our team. What they did was they would clean up a lot of high profile citations, add about 20 local citations, right? And the ranking, it just was able to propel our clients really quickly, basically, just by doing that. Again, I used to be against citations, but now I'm kind of a little bit more of a proponent for them. But yeah, anyway, like anything from getting like a Yellow Pages to even a nextdoor.com, we've seen actually that work. So, I would think, I didn't think it was going to work, but I was like, guys, try it. check it out. It doesn't matter. Just experiment with it. And they did, and it works like a charm.
You heard it here first. Citations are the competitive difference maker. Everyone needs to get them.
I don't know if I would say that, but
no, but that's interesting that you found that it might within certain types of business or certain types of niches or verticals. It's interesting to know, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You still need your citations.
Yeah, and
brilliant.
And last thing on that, it's just that we found that if it's one of the first things that we do, right, because it is an easier task, right? I mean, let's be real about it. If it's one of the first things that we do, we actually start to see some momentum, and then we can start working on some of the more complex tasks.
Brilliant. Thank you. And Joy.
Yeah, so last year, my big focus, like if I had to put it all in one bubble, was links. I wanted to learn more about links, and I'm obsessed with understanding how the local algorithm differs from the organic algorithm. So I've done a lot of digging into that. And so I'll be presenting later this year all the findings that we found on links. So don't worry, it's all coming. But like in a nutshell, what we kind of found was like links have a much bigger, and I mean much bigger impact on organic than they do on local pack rankings. So it's kind of interesting because like I feel like that's not widely known, and like clients will come to me and be like, well, I want to rank, all over town for dentist queries, and I'm going to give you more money for links. And I'm like, no, like we actually don't need to spend more money on links because that's not going to accomplish what you want. Whereas for other industries where there's like a high volume of organic traffic, like lawyers or some of the home service providers that we work with, where like there's just tons of SERPs that are like organic heavy, those ones, and like links matter a lot more. So just understanding the difference and what types of links also work is another thing that we were testing out. So understanding the difference between, like what does a guest post do? What about a citation? This and that. So that was eye-opening, I think, for me, and not something that I feel like I really grasped before last year.
Wow. Looking forward to that.
Of course.
I was expecting that.
Amanda.
Yeah, so one of my biggest takeaways from last year has been the importance of really having a good foundation in technical SEO is for local SEO. And I think that's partially because I just came from a technical SEO agency and going into a local SEO agency and seeing how those things marry together has been really interesting, especially things related to speed issues, core web vitals, things related to just like people switching around how things are on a page, to the placement of items on the page, and how much impact it ended up having on our results from a just like leads perspective, conversion rate perspective. And it's just testing out things and fixing technical SEO issues before we even getting really heavily started on making changes to content or making changes to the Google business profile and seeing that, oh, wait, if I running this one plugin on WordPress improved their ranking significantly, or their site is so much faster, they have a huge increase in organic revenue just from fixing issues that we could easily see on the page, but are sometimes scary for local SEOs because it's not kind of in our wheelhouse sometimes to do the more technical elements.
Yeah. And you've written some great stuff, haven't you, on like the technical basics, which everyone will benefit from if they feel that they're not like a super technical SEO. So it's got the final question here in this section. Thinking about everyone's favorite, the insert editing features, also known as the NMX. So we know that Google changed the way we edit business profiles through the NMX-insert editor. Can you offer any tips and tricks to be aware of with the NMX, or any new features that can't be or shouldn't be overlooked?
I'll go. Why not?
Oh, it's Ben.
You want me to go? I'll just go. Why not?
Go on then, just do it.
Okay. So with NMX, the biggest, I guess you could say, thing that I recommend about it is just get used to it. Okay. It's not going away. It's not going to change anytime soon. Just get used to it. Two big tips, I guess you could say, is number one, especially for right now, do not remove this profile. Please, please, please do not remove this profile. They put it in the stupidest position, right under business settings. It's huge. It says it's just a big block. Why? If you want to get yourself off of a profile, stop managing a profile, whatever the case may be, you have to go into managers and then click on yourself and then remove yourself as a role. Okay. That's how you do it to get rid of yourself. If you click on remove this profile, it is removing it completely. It's just the same function as remove from dashboard. The problem is that Google last year also implemented another feature, quote unquote, which is that when you remove a profile, depending on category, it can remove it from the entire database within literally from instant 24 hours to 1 week to 30 days, depending on category. So we have seen, as soon as NMX switched over, we saw a huge uptick in the community saying, where's my profile? It's gone. I can't get it back. And guess what?
Yeah.
You can't get it back. You lose everything. You might be able to get back the reviews. So I'm sorry I'm being long-winded about it, but it's super important. It really is. So that's number one. Actually, no, that's it. That's good enough. There's no new features really, except for copy your ID URL.
So basically, that button should say, "Do not press this." Like an auto eject button. Just like don't press it because you're just going to be ejected out the roof. Amanda.
I don't really have much to add there. Like I agree. Get used to it. Like it's probably not going anywhere. So like I don't really have much to add to that.
Do you love it?
Can't say I do. Cannot say that I do.
Okay. Yeah. Pros and cons. Joy.
Yeah, well, I'll say one plus is the insights are way better. So there you go. There's one pro for the new dashboard. As far as tips, I've got two. So the appointment URL, it moved like where it is. I don't even know where it was. I remember asking, I think Ben told me or somebody else told me yesterday. And it's under bookings for a lot of profiles now, which is like, it never used to be under there before. So a lot of people can't find it. So that's useful to know. And then also where to go to manage your photos. Like all there is a button to add photos. So like people are like, where do I go to see like where my current photo is or cover photo or logo or whatever. Currently, this could change. How to do that is to click on the photo in your knowledge panel. So when you have your dashboard open, you actually don't click on the button that says photos. You actually have to click on the photo. It's the stupidest thing ever. That will bring you back to the layout that has all the photos that shows like cover, logo, all that jazz. I'm hoping they change that UI because it is horrible, and they probably will, but that's how you get to it right now.
And they don't allow you to sort by date added anymore. So you can't quickly look at user uploaded photos just to make sure, right, are these okay? Are they okay? So it's just like removing that level of functionality. Ben, what were you, sorry, I so rudely cut you off. What were you saying?
I was just going to say, as a bonus, because we get a lot of questions about this and nobody's really talking about it much, is that right now, there's Joy, I don't know if you would call this a feature or a bug, maybe an oversight, but some profiles can create and get to website creation, the single page website. Some don't.
So someone gave me a tip on that recently. I don't know the name of the person. It was someone in our Facebook group, but if you don't have a website entered, there's a button to create one, a Google business profile website. So that free one that Google does. But if you have a website entered, it's missing. Like there's no button to create one. So they said the way to get that button, if you really want a Google website when you already have a website. So I'm like, why would you necessarily want that? But if you want one, then you have to remove your website first from your listing, like give it a few seconds, come back, and then the create a Google website button will be there. So that's the workaround. I can't say I'm going to do that for any clients at all, because like removing their website from their listing seems kind of like nonsense, but that is how you do it if you want to do it.
Sounds like a wonderful way to get suspended.
Right? I was like, I'm dead.
Right. We are going to power on to part 2. Jenny's going to press the secret button. There we go. So we've had a little look at the past. And now we are going to use our crystal balls and we are going to do some gazing into the future for this year. So let's start. Ben's excited about this bit. We're going to see some dodgy crystal ball AI images coming up in a minute. We have seen a big update in people talking about and using AI, including ChatGPT. GPT, not GMB, chat GPT. How much can we seriously see AI changing the way local SEOs conduct work? Who feels really passionately about that and wants to kick off?
Fine, whatever. I can't stand awkward silence. It's like you gotta fill it. Okay, so yeah. So basically, you know, in a nutshell, I guess what I would say about that is that, like everything with SEO, it really depends. And you know, my call to the industry is like, look, we need to tread very carefully. We need to understand the impact to our workflows. And also at the same time, we do need the crystal ball, because the crystal ball is going to tell us, or should tell us, how is Google going to respond to this? Google, historically, they have a huge spam department, right? And their spam department is probably looking at this with a fine-tooth comb right now. They're tweaking their algorithms. They're looking for AI content. They're feeding it into the machine. And they're basically coming back and saying, okay, what kind of heuristics can we create to detect and filter? You know, there was a recent release about content moderation that came out. You know, this has been in place for a very long time, actually. It's just never had a real name. We have always called it a spam block, product experts. And, you know, there's been some conversations in the back rooms with Google. And Joy, you can definitely cover that because you were the one who asked the question. But, you know, they're going to get good at this. So my thing is like, take the tools, and we're going to be going over common uses for it, right? Mm-hmm. Which some are good, some are bad. But just be really, really careful. Don't get too overzealous about it. And if anybody else asks you, you know, what should I be doing with ChatGPT? Be careful.
Brilliant. Amanda, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that completely. I am probably a little bit more cautious even on the use of things like ChatGPT, especially for things like content. I can see it being helpful as a tool. I see it as not like even like a tool. To me, ChatGPT and all these things are kind of like Python. It is a stepping block to make tools or things to make your job easier, but it should not be what you depend on and rely on for the final answer. And that's the way that it should be used. If you are depending on ChatGPT to give you any output and you're just copying and pasting that, you're going to have a bad time. Like, that's really what it is. Even when it does things like schema, it's not exactly correct. It has issues with it and you have to fix it. So don't rely on anything that comes out of any of these AI tools as being not even just accurate, because there are already people talking about how it's giving out false information and things like that, but just even like correct, right? Like, is not even going to necessarily be the most correct way to do it, or the most logical way to do it, or the way that you would do it if you thought about it a little bit more yourself. So I would say that it's a tool to be used with other tools as part of your toolbox, but it is not something that I would rely on even remotely heavily for day-to-day SEO work.
Love it. Thank you. Joy?
Yeah, so I definitely think it's a tool set that's going to be used quite regularly at my agency. I think it's a tool to help you do your job better and faster, and like pick up where it might be difficult. So, you know, sometimes it's hard to like figure out how to like put the words near me into content naturally. So like I'll throw that in and be like, can you throw this into this sentence for me and make it sound good? And it'll do that, right? It'll do it probably faster than I could do it. So that's great. I think the one tip, I think it was from SEO FOMO's newsletter, I believe, that was really good, was using it to asking the AI to make something NLP friendly. So that's something that was really fascinating. I tried that the other day, and what it came back with was very different than how I would have worded it. So just understanding that sometimes the way that like humans talk and write isn't always the way that search engines understand things. So asking things like semantically friendly, NLP format, whatever, those types of prompts can really give you insight into like, oh, maybe I should reword it like this. And so again, when I'm testing around with stuff, that can be a way to increase your ranking, get Google to show the right title tag we had a success with that. Like it didn't like the title tag that I wrote. And so I threw it into OpenAI and was like, can you make this NLP friendly? And it did. And then all of a sudden now Google likes my title tag. So I guess AI does kind of like AI in that sense. But like anything, test, right? So I have like, I don't know, like 24 tests currently going on this. Like, what happens if we use it for this? And what's the outcome? And like, I think measuring that and being careful and cautious, of course. I do not suggest, using it to spin out 50 pages of content without editing. But keep in mind that that's not new. So if anybody thinks that's like a new thing, SEOs have been doing that for decades. So like I took a Black Hat SEO training course a couple of years ago, and there's like systems that'll literally allow you to spin up content like, 50 pieces of content in 5 minutes. So these things already exist. People are already using them. So it's not new in that sense. I think it's just maybe more widely available than it used to be.
I love that.
On that note, really quickly, I saw something funny the other day. Some guy was creating a tool, and he's going to do it. He's going to charge like $50 for this. It's $50 for 5,000 pages of spun content using ChatGPT.
There's your location landing pages done. Awesome. Sounds brilliant.
God. We were talking about that in the green room.
I think you've touched on this a little bit, but it would be really interesting to hear maybe your little list of what should you use AI for and what shouldn't you use AI for. And we'll go straight back to Joy.
Yeah. So use it as a tool to help you. Like, you know what I mean? Like I've seen people that are like, oh, I'm stuck with this content, or like, I can't figure out what to do here or whatever. Like what topics, should I put on this page? Stuff like that. It's like amazing to give you ideas and stuff. Right. So think of it like you're a personal assistant. That's how I would look at it. Right. Everybody now has a personal assistant, and it's helpful for that. What you shouldn't use it for is to drive your entire strategy. That's a good way to tank. And also fact check this thing like crazy, because I think if you ask it how to do local SEO, it'll tell you to geotag photos. So just know that just because it tells you something doesn't mean that it's true.
Yeah, actually, Claire, you've got the screen on that one, right? About the geotagging photos. I ran all the local SEO myths that we have through ChatGPT, and it came back and said, yes, you should do this. Yes, you should do this. Here's why.
It's the secret. It's the secret sauce.
Because it was so 2001, right? People back then were like, the hype train was huge back then. So ChatGPT is all trained on 2001 and prior.
Yeah.
So
back in the day when stuff was easy. Amanda, what do you think we should use it for, and what shouldn't we use it for?
Yeah, I think it's great for brainstorming and having a good jumping off point for different types of things. So like if you're not sure, like, what type of schema should I use for this type of page, or what could be some of the subtopics for this page, things like that. And then as a personal assistant too, that's one of the things that I see it as. It's a personal assistant. It's not necessarily a something that's going to generate high quality responses. It's almost like an unreliable intern. That's what I would see. like
that's
there's
awesome.
they can yes, it can get you an answer, but it may not be as thorough and as quality of an answer that you would want to have. So it's not a replacement. Like I've seen people say that it's a replacement for Google. It is not a replacement for an actual search engine or someone going and doing lots of research with sources and all of that. But if you need something to help with ideas or a jumping off point, it's a good place to start. I just wouldn't rely on it so heavily, like Joy said, that it is how you're creating your strategy. Your strategy should not be based on ChatGPT or AI tools should not be creating your SEO strategy.
And Ben, can you tell us how you're currently using AI?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm not currently using it. I'm playing with it because I want to see what it does first, right? So when ChatGPT first came out, I played with it extensively, and I was very impressed by it, right? I was impressed by it until about a week or so ago when Lily actually had said something, and I was like, you know what? I was like, let me go see what ChatGPT has to say about eat, right? And so I asked it to tell me about E. And then I said, okay, so how accurate can this actually be? Let's go ahead and cite sources. So I said, can you cite sources for this? And it's shot back a bunch of sources. I did not check them, right? I just kind of posted it and I was like, yeah, here you go. Just ask it to cite sources. And then all of a sudden somebody came back. Thank you. Exactly. That's the exact one, the image. It came back and it said Rand Fishkin wrote this article about E on Moz. That never happened. Okay. So that's number one. And then, I'm sorry, Neil, but it's got Neil Patel's there, all right? Name there too. So, but then I went back to ChatGPT and I said, okay, well, fine. Okay. Rewrite this and cite your sources. And it cited its sources. And then I went and I said, okay, so interesting. So let me go see the copy that's being used and go to those sources. Are they in those sources? The answer is no. Again, it was just citing sources for the sake of citing different types of sources. And then I took the content and I went another step and I went to Copyscape. Copyscape said, this is plagiarized. I said, really? And so then Steve Wiedemann showed me originality.ai, which will show you how much of your content's AI written and how much is actually being seen as AI written and how much is plagiarized. It came back at 40% plagiarized, 69% AI written. So this is the thing that you need to pay attention to, right?
Yeah.
And I do encourage everybody that is going to do this, just get originality.ai. It's 0.0001 cent per query. Costs you $10.
Don't have a play with that.
So, so I just wanted, that's just want to put that story out there. But so to answer your question, right? What I think that SEOs can use it for, and I agree 100% with Amanda and Joy, it's great for like mundane tasks. It can actually help you write schema. It can do Excel formulas. It can generate ideas for posts. You can identify keyword opportunities. You can create content if you have a fact checker and an editor. And, I mean, I even went in, thank you. And I was going to say, you can use it in a sense actually to create and write a review. So this prompt, by the way, I found to be actually, and I'm not going to say it. It's the perfect prompt. No, it's almost perfect, I guess. You can always rewrite it. So anyway, I wanted to say we're in a group with Steve and Donna and a whole bunch of people. We talk about ChatGPT. And so I was like, okay, write a human review about this company, Rocket Media, mentioned Donna, and then I put in what I wanted to mention, right? And ChatGPT was able to produce something that I personally could not write. Like one of my staff members probably could write something like this, but I couldn't. And I think it's really well done. It reads well. Ran it through originality.ai. Originality.ai could not see anything as far as AI creating this. So, not saying you should write reviews with ChatGPT, by the way. That is not what I am promoting here, but I'm promoting the fact that it could help you. Okay. You could ask it to write, say, 100-word review or even a 10-word review or whatever, and then just rewrite it a little bit more into your own tone, basically. So again, the whole concept of an assistant. I did the same thing with a review response. Okay. And the review response was actually, again, also very, very well done. So write a review response about, and it was written by Tess. What an amazing job you've done. That was the review content. And it came up with this review. Where I would say this might be useful, again, not encouraging it, but it could be useful, is responding to those really pesky 1-star reviews. Or I'm sorry, not 1-star, no content reviews. So somebody gives you a 5-star review with no content whatsoever.
Yeah.
Only problem is that ChatGPT is really bad at coming up with unique responses. So it might spit out the same thing every single time, which you don't want to use. So you need to vary your prompts so that way it will vary those responses. And on that last thing, I think Mike Blumenthal was, I forget the name of the company, but Mike on last week in Local was talking about a review company that has like integrated ChatGPT into their review responses. So instead of just spinning content, you click a button,
Mm.
ChatGPT makes something for you, and then you can edit it and send it out.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Mm.
And where, as far as where people go wrong, I think we've talked about this before. Lazy marketers.
Yeah. I think we'd probably all agree with that. But it's quite interesting because everyone has been playing with Chat GPT for so long. So all over Twitter, but we're sort of forgetting that we've been using Google's Cloud Vision AI for a while now to understand how Google interprets the images that we use. So, that's another use that is, it's a really good idea to use that one.
Yeah.
Rather. What we'll do is we'll move on to the next question, which is all about Apple Business Connect. So Apple has now launched Apple Business Connect. What could this mean for the local search landscape? And I might start with Joy, who will also tell us what Apple Business Connect is, in case you didn't know.
Yeah, so Apple Business Connect is kind of like, I feel like Apple's real first attempt at like a GMB dashboard, like where we're typically used to like going and claiming listings, and now you can do it as an agency. Cool. Like Bing has one of these too. So I'd say Apple is really behind on this. Like they really should have launched this thing like 5 years ago. So the fact that they're just launching it now is kind of shocking to me. Might be like a bit of a insight into how many people actually use Apple Maps. I don't know, that's just my thought. But I know I've seen some really bad stats out there. People are like, oh, half my friends use iPhones, therefore half people are on Apple Maps, and half the people searching are using Apple Maps. It is like, no, like that is not accurate. I don't have the stat in front of me. Like, I don't know what the usage is on Apple Maps. It is not anything close to Google. I can say that with certainty. So the challenging thing is Apple makes it very hard to track. So, unlike Google Business Profile, there's no stats, there's no anything yet. So like if you spend any effort on listings, like it's hard to quantify that, know how much traffic you're going to get. I guess you can look for one thing that we are going to be doing is using UTM codes, which apparently are fine now. I think it's kudos to David Mim. Yeah, I think David Mim said that on Twitter. So, I know, right? I just learned this. So using UTM codes used to be like they reject them, but you can use them now. So like great. Now we can actually like track a bit better. But I think you're going to find that like Apple Maps is more of like a data source accuracy things currently, more so than like a huge source of traffic. So like we had a client already reach out that somebody was trying to call them using Apple Maps, and somebody had swapped their phone number to like a competitor. So that's fun. So definitely like from an accuracy standpoint, like I think if you're an agency, like absolutely you want to get these listings claimed, like, and make sure they're accurate and monitor them. But like, how to improve ranking, how to like all of that's very infancy. Like, I don't think you're going to be able to do a whole lot to influence that. And also nice little tidbit is that Apple Maps is already cluttered with spam. So I tweeted out something last week about this, and I was like shocked. Like I shouldn't be shocked, really shouldn't. But I was like, their verification methods are similar to local service ads. They required like I had to give my colleague like our tax registration and like all these documents showing like where Sterling Sky's address is and stuff for them to claim our listing. So I was like, oh great, Apple's off to a great start. They're gonna like not be cluttered with spam. And then I did a search for personal injury lawyer Philadelphia, and it's like spam, 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 like all these fake listings. I'm like, great. Spammers are always ahead of everybody else. So that's just great.
Spam all the things.
Thank you, spam.
Yeah, crazy.
We can't have good choice.
What could this mean for the local search landscape, Ben? What do you think?
So I'm kind of in Joy's boat with this, Actually, I'm very much in Joy's boat with this. I don't think it's going to be huge for our landscape today. If we look at this last year versus this year, right? Last year, the Apple Business Connect was in a different type of format. It was very simple, right? It was difficult to use. However, the thing that I think that's interesting with the ABCs is that they do have a way of tying directly and deeply into the Apple ecosystem. And that's the big difference, I think, between your Google Business Profile and your ABC profile. And I believe that's going to continue to grow. And right now, though, it's very difficult. It's kind of difficult as an agency to help your client with their Apple business profile. It's like, if I remember correctly, right, Joy, you have to get the client to go ahead and give you like their Apple ID. Then you create it. Then you can invite it to the agency control panel or the ABC, right? So that's like, why? So on top of that, the other thing that I personally think that is going to not make it so useful is that it is at this point today very much a set it and forget it type of environment. Beyond, of course, making sure your data is correct, is that once you go in and you're done, and once you've made these connections and created everything, there's nothing left to do. There's no questions and answers. There's no posts. There's no services, right? It's just, you're done. So as an agency, we're not going to be able to find any kind of recurring value, I guess, for our customers. So yeah, it's going to be a kind of a claim it and you're done. And then, sorry about that. And then that's
delivery,
right? No, but it's very much a claim it and you're done. So what do I think on 2023? Yes, get used to the control panel, dip into it once a quarter, maybe see if there's anything new going on. Get your clients, get them on there, make sure their data is right. But beyond that, measure it and you're done.
Amanda, have you got anything to add to any Apple-y things?
No, I think like it's going to be interesting how it develops over time. I agree with everyone else. Right now, it's not extremely useful. But I do think that there could be something to this as it ages, as more people use it. I just think it's interesting how things like CarPlay being in the majority of new cars coming out now, where you can search for Google Maps or Apple Maps from your vehicle and it'll show you places. Is there any type of SEO that goes involved in that right now or in the future? And I see that kind of being where the play might be for the ABC in the future, is more so maybe in vehicles, where if you're using an Apple device and you're using CarPlay and you're in your car, you're probably not going to switch to Google Maps. You're probably going to continue to use Apple Maps because that's what's automatically going to be used by your car. So for touristy type of businesses, that may become a factor later on. But I see that very far down the line, not something that's going to happen this year or next year or a year after that. Another thing is that it's still depending on Yelp for reviews and information, and that's not a great thing. So that's going to make it kind of unusable from a consumer point of view, is because it's depending on Yelp for reviews. And we all know from the SEO perspective the limitations of Yelp reviews and Yelp information. But I can admit, and as a consumer, I don't trust Yelp and I hate that I can't easily leave a review and it's not going to be accepted. So there's no point in leaving one. So I see things like that being something that maybe Apple works on this year, is coming up with their own way to get their own reviews. Maybe that will be one of the changes. But other than that, I don't see it having a ton of like major changes for this year. It's going to be most important just to make sure your data is correct, so that if someone does find you on Apple, they can actually get in contact with you, if that is the tool that they decide to use.
Brilliant. So it's one to watch, really, in terms of, and don't forget to UTM tag your link up if you haven't done that already, and see if it works. We have only got like 7 minutes left in this section before we move on to, we've got a little bit about something very exciting Sammy is talking about very briefly. We have got time for Q&A soon. So can you make sure that you put your questions in the secret box? It's the chat area. I'm seeing a different screen. Who knows? That's the thing. And you just write your question in. So let's move on to, and I think we've sort of touched on parts of this, but this is a little insight into what you've learned and then what you're going to roll out based on that learning. The biggest single learning that you'll take from 2022 and apply across your client base in 2023. And I'll go to Amanda on that, please.
So my biggest learning is to listen to the talking heads less and to test more things on our own to figure out what's actually going on. I know that's really funny to say right now while I'm being a talking head, but that is the biggest learning we had is that, well, everyone has their opinion, but let's see what we can test and find out for ourselves, and what works for our clients, because not only will things change based on your market and the industry that you're working on, but your specific client too. Just because someone does a test and they don't get the results that they expect to get out of it does not mean that you're going to have the exact same experience, because you may be in a completely different situation or your client is in a completely different situation. It may actually work for you. So just not to be afraid to test, try out new things. We've been doing a lot of testing and changing up things with structured data and schema for clients, especially as we get more medically inclined clients, just to see like, what are those results? What do we get out of that? How are things changing? How does that impact things? So that's kind of one of our biggest learnings for the year for 2022 was like, hey, just test for yourself, figure out what's going on, and apply where it makes sense to apply that.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Lots of testing. Joy.
Yeah, biggest thing I would say, in addition to stuff I've already said, would be the impact of like just looking at SERPs. So I feel like a lot of SEOs, myself included, have been previously guilty of just like looking at things like rank trackers and looking at numbers, and like, even when you see like things like algorithm updates with like drops and stuff, it can be really challenging to try and figure out what happened. Well, we've really baked into our processes like screenshots of search results. So as we're working on things, taking screenshots of keywords and search results that we're targeting so that we can actually see historically, like that data is invaluable. Like it is so helpful to know, oh, here's what it used to look like. Here's what it looks like now. Oh, this explains why they have a traffic drop. Like we literally had a client who their calls started dropping, and like if you look at their rank tracking, everything looks phenomenal. Like it's amazing. And then you look at a screenshot, you're like, oh my God, there's an LSA unit there. Didn't used to exist before. Oh, you're like, that explains it. So like little things like that. I feel like screenshots of SERPs are invaluable. I obsess over them. I look at them, I analyze them, and like you can get so much just from looking at what Google is showing to get some understanding of like what you need to do.
100%. Thank you. Ben.
I have to agree with both my colleagues here, and that is that testing is extremely important. Observations are extremely important. I just want to throw in, I guess, two last things. Number one, SEO is never a set it and forget it. You can't have that kind of mentality. People with GBP, they're known for this, right? It's gotten better in the last year. It definitely has. But you can't just set and forget things, because there's always going to be something new that's going to pop up. So, but the other thing is this, and I say this a lot, and that is, it comes from just being in this industry for over 30 years. And that is that I encourage you to look at SEO like it was in the 90s. And what I mean by that is that you're optimizing your SEO, your experience, for the customer, for the consumer. You're not optimizing it for Google. Yes, there are technical things that you have to do to kind of get an edge. And, but anyway, yeah, there are things that you have to do, of course, to get an edge. But realistically, it's like when you're creating content, when you're getting links and things like that, create content that's going to be useful for a customer. And then if you're getting links, get links that are going to bring you the type of customer that you want. Mm-hmm. It's not because, oh, I think this is going to be great for link juice because it's got a DR or blah, blah, blah. Who cares? So that, it's still the biggest learning that I have year over year is that if you do that, you're going to win at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. I feel like I just want to say thank you very much. We've been through both of those sections, and it's good if your actual host is writing down notes from things that they need to do based on what people have said. So I hope everyone enjoyed that insight into the brains of these three wonderful people. I know that I did. So thank you very much for so freely sharing all of your knowledge. It's really appreciated. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to hand over to Sammy Sorry, Sammy, how do you say your surname? Paget. I like to think it's French.
I really wish it was Paget. It's Paget.
It's Sammy Paget, BrightLocal's content marketing manager, who will discuss the 2023 Local Marketing Confidence Survey. So over to you, Sammy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Claire. I feel like I've been wheeled out for like a halftime entertainment show. So yeah, I just want to talk to you for a few minutes about a survey that we conducted recently. You may have seen it. It's the Local Marketing Confidence Survey. This is the first kind of survey of its kind that we have conducted at BrightLocal, where we wanted to gauge how local marketers are feeling about the industry, about their business health, kind of despite all of the challenges we've faced globally in the last kind of 12 to 18 months. So I guess the first kind of key finding I want to share with you is a really nice one, in that overwhelmingly there is a really good sense of optimism across the industry. I think it's important to note that this is about individual business health and not necessarily people saying they feel optimistic about the global environment itself, but it's a really positive statistic to see across all kinds of business types, from agencies and consultants to small businesses and those multi-location businesses, that generally everyone's feeling pretty good. I think that says a lot about their kind of resilience over this time. So one of the other kind of key findings, we asked our agencies, freelancers and consultants kind of what their feelings were about the next 12 months in terms of introducing new services. And again, this is another positive one where we've got 76% say yes, they are planning on introducing new services this year. Similarly, we asked our sort of small businesses and multi-location businesses about their plans for marketing budgets in the next year. And this is, again, despite the kind of global complications we've kind of seen around rising costs. 54% have said that, yes, they are planning on increasing their marketing budgets. So I think what we can kind of take from this is a sense of wider recognition that investing in marketing services is really key for kind of resilience and in the face of these kinds of challenges. But then one of the other things we wanted to delve into, particularly for agencies, freelancers and consultants, were some of the biggest challenges they were facing in the industry at the moment, looking at sort of client retention and new business. And a third were said that they are facing lots of challenges in terms of winning new clients. So we wanted to dive into some of these a little bit further. So generally across the board, yes, it's harder to retain existing clients, but when it comes to new clients, 86% of our respondents kind of said that they're feeling clients are a lot more price conscious than they were sort of the year previously. They're taking a lot longer to commit to that kind of client agency relationship. And then a few other kind of key challenges we have here are around fewer new business leads in general, as well as the sort of decrease in the quality of those leads. And then the win rate overall of new business is also a challenging one for them. So a few kind of contrasting things we found there in the survey. We have our agencies saying they're finding it challenging to kind of win new business, but then we have small and multi-location businesses saying, yes, we're looking to spend more on our marketing budgets. So I guess the key takeaway from this for us, are there opportunities, particularly for agencies, for freelancers and consultants, where they could be kind of looking to maybe reach a new audience, maybe pivot and have a look at some of the kind of smaller target audiences that they'd not focused on before, but perhaps, over time it is, it's now a good time to kind of revisit that. So I've just kind of left it here with a takeaway from the survey, and that with the kind of optimism we've seen, the appetite for spending, it seems that there is an appetite across all business types to grow in 2023 and beyond, hopefully. So I think, if anything, this should act as a reminder to all of us that it's not enough just to rely on how we've all been doing before. Obviously, a lot has changed in the last few years, the last 12 months. So yeah, just looking for those kind of opportunities to do things a bit differently. So yeah, I hope you enjoy reading it. If you haven't already, you can find that over in the insights section on the website.
Brilliant. Hello. Hello. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello again. Looking forward to it. It's lovely to get that marketing insight. So look forward to just reading the whole of that piece over, and that's live on BrightLocal now, yeah?
It is,
so
yes.
People can go and dive in and get all the stats and all those important things that they need to use.
Absolutely, and we'd love to know as well if that, how people here are, how they're feeling on the ground. Like, does that resonate? Do you feel like anything's missing? So yeah, please do let us know in the comments.
Brilliant. So sadly, we don't have time for a Q&A with lovely Sammy, and we are going to say thank you very much to her and goodbye. Thank you, Sammy. And we will bring our illustrious guests back onto the screen because there they are. I hope Ben answered the doorbell and found out what delivery was there.
That was
What
Apple
did we
calling.
get?
That was Apple calling. They didn't like my comments.
They were actually knocking at the door. So, right, primed and ready for the Q&A. So hopefully you have headed in and given your questions to us. And I believe they are going to appear on the screen and then we can answer them.
Oh, man.
Okay, so this is what it's going to look like. Tony, thank you. Can you get penalised with your map rankings with keyword stuffing on the company name? Do you want me to ask people or do you want to do a dive in on this? Dive in.
Who wants to go first?
Okay, I'll go first. So unlikely, you can. So the answer, to be factual here, yes, absolutely, you can. Chances of you getting penalized pretty low. Google really doesn't care about keyword stuffing as much as people think they do. And we say this with pretty strong evidence from reporting listings that are keyword stuffing. So, unfortunately, it actually works really well to increase rankings, and a lot of people do it, even though it's against Google's guidelines. Caveat, of course, being, yes, it could technically suspend your listing. You probably won't get it reinstated unless you remove the keyword stuffing. So something to consider, but the strategy works really well, which is why so many people do it.
All right. Cool. So people are going to love this answer, I think. Yes, Joy is correct. However, as with anything with SEO, it depends. So what we find is that 30% of listings that we report, which are just having an offense of a keyword stuffing, we find that there's at least one other signal going on in the background. So that signal is actually what will cause the suspension. So we internally look at keywords as just a leading indicator that there might be something other spammy in nature. Mm-hmm. So what we'll see is we will make the submission. Google will make the change on the name, and then literally 48 hours later, the entire listing gets suspended. Again, it's only 30% of the time, but hey, I'll take it.
I love it. Okay, just three. Ben, I'm going to ask another follow-up question on the back of that. What would you say are the 2 or 3 most common co-occurring spammy factors along with stuffing the keywords?
Yeah, so definitely keywords, of course, is right. That's number one. It's the easiest thing for people to do. But the secondary thing, of course, that people are going to do, really, it just comes down to actually address, right? Mm-hmm. Of course, you don't get a ton of success when somebody's supposed to be as SAB and they have their home address shown. But sometimes, based on the argument that you portray, you might be able to actually convince Google to take it down, but you have to usually conjoin it with another piece of information. And so what we'll do is we'll take a look at like the laws in that state for that industry. We do this a lot with LSA, of course, as well too. But like some states, for instance, you have to have a contractor's license. Now, Google's not tapped into these contractor's licenses, so therefore they can't use them as an automated means. But if you can show the law, cite the law, and then show that they don't have, like, say, a contractor's license either, that's usually enough reason for Google to take them down and at least do an integrity check.
Cool. Thank you. Shall we run through to the next question, and then I'll bring Amanda in on some other bits as well? Unless you've got a really...
I have a question for Ben. Are fake reviews one of the other things that you see often with that? With the spam names?
Yeah. So with spam names, fake reviews almost always come with them, right? And when you're looking at companies which are actually just pure lead gen, there's another thing that you can do. Depending on your state laws, I would say make sure you look into these things, because you don't want to record somebody if you can't. But we also will call almost everybody who has, like, if they have fake reviews and a fake business name, we'll actually call them, we'll record that and submit that to Google. Again, only if it's legal. But yes, so fake reviews can be another leading indicator. If somebody's hiding their reviews, absolutely. There's some fishy going on if somebody's hiding their reviews. The percentage chance that people just want to hide their reviews is, like, so low. Most people don't even know how to do that. So yes, absolutely, Amanda.
Okay, next question, please. So, Mr. Q, when it comes to service area business listings, is it better to have one authoritative listing with multiple service areas, or multiple individual listings for each city?
Go, Joy.
Claire, are you going to ask us individually, or just want us to jump in?
I was just seeing what was going to happen, because I feel like some things, especially to do with, go for it, Joy, please.
All right. Definitely having multiples, as long as you're, like, following guidelines. You're fine to have multiple listings as long as you have, like, different staff and you have documentation. So that's something to keep in mind. Like, if you're using employees' home addresses, you might have a hard time getting documents that have the company name at those addresses. So maybe don't do that. But definitely better to have individual listings, because service areas don't impact ranking. So if you have, 5 different cities that you service, you're not likely going to rank in those cities with one listing.
Anything else to add to that, or shall we move on?
That's pretty much a mic drop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I will back up on one of those things that Joy's definitely said there, and that is that using homes for employees is a horrible idea. It really is, because there's privacy concerns, number one. Number two, if you get suspended, guaranteed that employee is not going to want you doing a video of their home. Just saying.
Okay. Jennifer, best strategy to remove fake reviews. Reporting them has not worked. 6 1-star reviews from a competitor on one profile. This competitor is also spamming our other competitors. So it's very clear for Jennifer that these are fake, but obviously Google is not agreeing. What should she do?
Whew. I'm actually curious to see if Ben's response here might be different than mine, but I have a strong opinion on this, that reporting fake reviews to Google is a giant friggin' waste of time. So I would not report them to Google at all, because what will end up happening is they'll just buy more. You'll get Google to remove, let's say, 50, and then you'll go on a month later and there'll be 50 new ones, and Google won't do a friggin' thing about it. So if you're going to do anything, go the legal route if you can. Again, I know a lot of people don't want to do this, but I'm like, hey, if you're a lawyer and it's illegal for you to buy reviews, you should report them to the state bar. You should report them to whatever organization regulates. I think that until these organizations start doing something, we are never going to see a solution to fake reviews online.
So I will agree with Joy. However, I will give a dissenting response as well. Okay. Got to look at both sides. It's kind of like the justice scales, right? So in most cases, when you report these fake 1-star reviews that you get, it is difficult unless there is some kind of a pattern. We talked a little bit about hiding reviews. Hiding reviews is a pattern. If somebody's leaving a review on your location and also another location in the same exact industry, or a negative review on your location and 5, say, on another competitor or different competitors, but in the same industry, those are patterns. However, the caveat here is this. Whenever Google is looking at these reviews, they usually will look at the account leaving those reviews. And so therefore you actually do have a chance, because most review spammers will just go pay somebody $5 on Fiverr or whatever over in India, etc. And they'll just hire them to go leave a bunch of reviews. Well, these review farms, you know, they have lots of phones, lots of accounts, etc. They're brand new accounts. There's lots of flags that go on behind the scenes. So it's worth it to give it a chance. Now, the second thing is the automated system, which is mainly machine learning driven, AI driven. It is not going to be perfect. So it might just come back and spit out and say, sorry, not going to happen, right? We're not going to remove the review. But that's not a human being actually saying this. So what you can do is, in a situation where you have been under an attack, is you can come to the Google Business Profile community. And somebody like Joy and I, product expert, we can take a look at it real quick and be like, okay, you know what? Sure, let's throw it against the wall. Let's see if the spaghetti sticks. And we can submit it through to the trust and safety team and let them decide. This is a 5 to 10 minute ordeal for you to try and get them removed, which can be a big deal to you if it actually succeeds. But like Joy's saying, the chances of success, it's kind of a toss-up.
Brill. Thank you. Another question here. In late October, we saw national companies take over the organic SERP links for general terms. Any thoughts on how local companies can compete or regain visibility? Amanda, I'm going to take this to you, if you would like it.
Yeah, this is like a little bit of a difficult one, because unless someone is saying recliners near me, Google does not really have a hint that they're looking for a local company specifically. And if there's a ton of national reclining companies that have great authority, why wouldn't they show those first? And then on top of that, there is the factor of maybe instead of showing, I've just noticed too, is a lot of these affiliate-based New York Times type articles are showing up for these types of searches now too. So instead of getting any type of company that sells actual recliners, you're getting a list of the best recliners to buy online, and they're all affiliate links to other websites. One of the things that I would do is kind of look at your content strategy to see if you can compete, especially if you have an authority, your entire website is about recliners, all you do is recliners. You may be able to compete with some of these larger sites because of your topical authority on the topic of recliners for having like a best of list or a best of type list. And I've seen that happen for some of my clients. Of course, also, if you are an e-commerce company, make sure that you're also using the Google Merchant Center and making sure you're doing everything to get seen in Google Shopping. If recliners is what you want to rank for, and you can show that you're in stock and local, that will also help you kind of combat that a little bit. It may not help with the rankings part as much, but at least you'll have that visibility because you are a local company with it in stock. But that is something that I've seen be an issue for local businesses a lot lately, and just general legit businesses in general, with all of these affiliate type articles popping up and kind of taking over a lot of the SERPs when there isn't a clear intent for commercial purchase locally.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Have we got the next question? Is there a significant benefit to having a local number to the city, as we are in VRS? What's that?
Versus.
Oh, we are in versus having our business listing number being a number technically from a city 40 miles away. Okay. Let's go on then.
I was just going to say, set up a tracking number. I don't see a reason why not to just set up a local tracking number, and then you have that local number, costs you very little. You can tell who's coming in from that Google Business Profile or from that page on your website and be able to attribute it to that specific city. it's, to me, the benefit is significant from a data perspective. If you want to be able to track who's calling from that specific city, having that local number as a tracking number is going to be very beneficial for that, especially if it's 40 miles away. Yeah.
Joy or Ben?
Oh, go ahead, Joy.
I totally agree. I think from tracking, it's good. Also, I mean, like, again, I don't know if people in the area might not think you're local if they see like some weird area code. But from a ranking perspective, no, it doesn't really matter. I don't know if that's what they were getting at. It doesn't really impact ranking. I know we actually tested that out a while ago on Sterling Skies listings. We used to have a toll-free number, and I was like, oh, I wonder what would happen if we changed it to like a local area code. Yeah, not a whole lot. So I think it's more what Amanda was saying.
Let's look at the guidelines first. So the guidelines state that having a local number is better, number one. But let's go back to what we said earlier, and that is about customer experience. I don't know about you all, but if I'm looking for a plumber and I see, and I'm in Arizona, right? I'm in a 623 area code. If I see somebody with a 602 area code, that is like Scottsdale proper downtown Phoenix. I am not going to hire somebody from downtown Phoenix to come out to me, which is 45 minutes away. I'm just not going to do it. So I will skip by that number and I will go to the next listing. So from a conversions perspective, Lowry Fencing is if you want local customers, have a local phone number, get a tracking number, just like everybody else was saying here, and you'll be better off from a analytics standpoint too. So
Brilliant. Especially sort of hyper local, isn't it? People are looking for someone right next to them. That's that's really valuable. Thank you. Let's move on to the next question. Oh, how can you get a disabled? I'm not sure if that means soft suspension or hard
same
suspension.
thing as it's the same thing as a suspension.
Activated. Yeah. Okay, so it's a doctor and it's for his name. So he's got a listing for the practice and also a listing for the, what's that called? The listing for the person.
Practitioner.
And there we are, practitioner listing. And Google has suspended the practitioner listing. What can
I feel like this one has your
do?
name on it, Ben, but I can answer it if you don't want to.
What's that?
So I feel like this one has your name on it, but I can answer it.
It does. It does. I'm just giving everybody else a chance.
No, thank you, Ben. Thank you.
Yeah. So anyway, okay. So again, disabled is pretty much the same thing as suspended. The only, I'm going to say technical difference, because it's not consistent at all, is that when you look at the two terms, a suspended business profile is suspended usually because of activity, right? Whereas disabled profiles are, again, I'm going to put this in quotes, usually disabled because of some kind of data issue, right? Like a name, for instance, or a phone number, hours, things like that. But that's not always true. So they're basically interchangeable. When you have a practice and a practitioner listing, the practice and the practitioner listing will usually share the same address, right? Because it's just your forward-facing practitioner. Problems that come into play is that you have to look at, number one is do you have multiple forward-facing practitioners? We see that a lot, where there will be tons of practitioners at one location, and then Google just kind of throws up over one. Okay. Number two, are there enough I'm going to go back to citations. Are there enough mentions of your practitioner out there? And more importantly, and I've seen this one too, are they on your website? So we'll see like new practitioners, for instance, won't get added to the website in time. They set up their GBP first. Google says, well, wait a minute. This person doesn't exist, because you're supposed to be a forward-facing practitioner. So that can cause it to get disabled as well. And the next thing is phone number. You basically need to make sure you're not using the general practices phone number. Try and use your own phone number. Extension is not going to do it, by the way. So, because if the data is all the same, Google's going to have a problem with this. And then finally is if you do have a practitioner landing page, use a practitioner landing page. If you're using the main website, again, the data is too close to the practice. And the last thing is how you actually do your name. So, because technically you're allowed to do practice practitioner name. However, Google usually prefers practitioner. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one, actually, Joy, because you do this a lot with insurance.
I usually leave the practice name off. Like, it's
Okay.
usually a stupid idea to put it on there, to be completely honest.
That's what I figured. So yes. So usually that can also cause the issue. So if the practice name is in there, get rid of the practice name. Those are the basics.
Brilliant. Thank you. We've got 5 minutes. We might get 2 questions in. Let's do a GMB chat. Has anyone seen a correlation between visibility and having this enabled and fast response times? No.
Your MRR, Ken, merchant response rate.
Yes. So, okay. Can you help us with the top 5 factors for better ranking from Argentina? Thank you, Patricia.
Ooh, I'll echo what Amanda said earlier. Internal linking is like, I mean, goodness, you want a gold mine, that's your gold mine. So on-site stuff is the way to go. Little like SEO strategies, title tags, internal linking, content, consolidating duplicate content, things like that. Like that's my number one.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Amanda, quick fire 5.
Quick fire 5. Proximity. That's going to be my number one.
All the listings.
Primary category, on-page optimization, links, and reviews. Those would be the 5 things that I would pay attention to right off the bat. And reviews from a conversion perspective as well, not just from you need to have reviews. Because if you're in the top 3, but you have a 2.5 rating, it really doesn't matter. So making sure that you're focusing on reviews from a rating and quantity perspective.
Love it. Thank you. Ben, you're 5.
I'm just going to add 1. Name of your business.
Okay.
Because everything everybody else is 1,000% accurate. So there's only one more thing. See, and Andy in the chat, he agrees.
Right, we can go. We can do another question.
Go for it.
Okay. Philip, chat is built on pre-2019 data. Do you think some of GPT's misconceptions about SEO would be corrected if it updated to 2022 plus best practice?
No.
There's so much garbage out there. There's no way that it's right.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah. The only thing I'll say there is it's not 2019 data. It's 2021 actually. Which is why it's saying like geotagging and stuff like this is actually okay because geotagging wasn't even around in 2019. So just correct that. But yeah, it's it's total misconceptions.
Cool. We got time for one more. I think, have we? Jenny, should we do another one? Jennifer, Ben. Jennifer would like to hear more about your findings re LSA configuration. You'd mentioned bid-budget. Anything else?
All right, fine. I'll throw out 2 big ones. Okay. 2 big things that you can do to troubleshoot your LSA, because that's what everybody's like, why am I not getting leads? So the first one is there is a definitive bug. If you had created on or before in 2019 an LSA profile, then you're running basically on old code. The profile is not compatible with what's going on today, so therefore you will not get leads. So you have to create a new one, but there's a process behind that, and you have to be very, very, very careful. Otherwise, you end up creating the next bug, which is a duplicate bug. The duplicate bug, what that basically states is you have had in the past somehow along the lines a LSA which was connected to a GBP in the past. However, when you deactivate your LSA, it's still connected to that GBP on their back end. Because remember, you could do a GBP to multiple locations at one time, right? A long time ago. So this is where the problem actually got fixed. So, but what happens is now you start this new LSA, you connect it to the GBP, LSA doesn't know what to do. So it's confused. And unfortunately, it's extremely difficult to get fixed. You actually have to get LSA involved to get that fixed, if you can even debug it.
That sounded really clever. Thank you. I don't know anything about LSA, so clearly got a lot to learn. And then that was supposed to be the last question, but we love Andy. And Andy says, using AI generated images for GBP posts? Question mark. There's a big yes from Amanda. Yes from Ben. And
Why not?
Joy,
Why not?
Why not?
Not
Yeah,
gonna
we
hurt.
say it's a big thumbs up for that, Andy. We'd love to see the posts that you create doing that. Please, if you could share them with. Oh, there we are. We don't need to reimagine Ben as a superhero because he already is. So that wraps up today, really.
Oh, come on! You got to show Joy's and yours.
Oh, okay.
And Amanda's. Come on.
Do you want to show us those, Jenny, or not? If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't,
I made superheroes for everybody on the panel.
oh,
You'll have to tweet them out after that.
All right. I'll
we'll
tweet them.
share them on the Twitter, please. That would be
You got
really,
it.
really nice. I wanted to say a super huge thank you to the three of you for giving up your time to join us today, because you're brilliant and lovely, and we thank you very much. And thank you everyone that joined us today for your questions. All that remains to say is goodbye and thank you. And we have got another webinar in, I think it's February, so look out for an email about that and join us for that one. And we're just going to wave goodbye, I think, and say thank you for joining us. Goodbye, Joy. Goodbye, Amanda. Goodbye, Ben. Goodbye, everyone in the chat. Thank you for everyone, and get well soon, Miles.
Yes, definitely. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for having me.
We just keep waving until it stops.